My day is always better when it's filled with a little Jacoby Shaddix in it, man. How are you? Are you keeping the posse going in these times? Like, you're one of the most positive people I know. So forgive me if I'm going Jacoby. Give me something, mate.
Oh, man, I'll be straight with you, dude. It's been really good being home, to be completely honest. You know, we've been going for years. We dropped our first record in 2000, and we've just been trugging along, and it took a pandemic, I guess, to stop us. And you know, I can't say that it's been terrible. It's been pretty damn good. You know, just to be around my family and stuff. You know.
Other than the obvious, like being people around, have you picked up any weird hobbies or something that's really categorized this time?
You know, for me, I'm just like odd hobbies. Nah, man, I'm like my wife's just got me doing a bunch of stuff around the house that I've been avoiding for like 20 years of touring. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna be real with you on that, man. It's
right. Well, on the subject of 20 years of touring, man, this year is celebrating 20 years of Infest. And, you know, like, when I hear 20 years, at first, there it is, the record, man. Like, I'm buzzing to do this chat with you, Jacoby, because on the one side, I think it doesn't feel like 20 years. And on the other side, like, there's all of these stories that exist. I've got my own. I'll save it to the end. But the biggest thing that's really stood out for me isn't just the love for the record and the songs and the rest of it. There's been such an outpouring of stories from people that involve Infest. Like, how has that been for the last while you've been celebrating Infest?
Yeah, it's actually been really cool, man, to see, like, in the pre-roll part of the show. I was sitting with my family yesterday on the couch, just chilling, watching it, and all these people were popping up. And I didn't know that these people did these videos. The management went out and like sussed out all these, like, you know, tell us a story about Infest or how you heard about it, you know. And it was cool. I saw like Cy from Don Broco popped up there and was talking about how we learned the Last Resort riff, and like rolled up in school and just straight ripped it in front of all of his friends. And it like it was just like a moment for him, you know. And so to be able to like witness those, even Caleb from Beartooth gave us a shout out, you know, like some of these cats, these younger guys that are coming up that I'm a big fan of. It's just so cool to see how our music had inspired them. Even Aaron from Of Mice and Men, you know, it's like he's from Vacaville, where I'm from. And for him to kind of tell that story about, you know, him coming to the teen center and watching us play shows as a young kid and how it lit a fire underneath his ass. Like, it just, I look back on that and I'm like, wow, like this is real. This 20 years, this is real. The impact of this record is real. The impact of our band in music in the 2000s was massive. And to be able to reflect upon that and just hear the stories of people's, you know, passion for our music, it's like, it blows me away, man. It puts me in, like, I'm grateful, very grateful. Very grateful.
So the celebration itself this Saturday that you recorded, the VOD thing, what was the significance to it being in that rehearsal room in Sacramento? Is there any kind of like added thing that comes with the VOD?
Oh yeah, man. So when we were trying to figure out a place to go do this, we actually owned a studio downtown Sacramento, and we sold it 2 years ago to this guy, and he put a bunch of money into it, man. He made it everything we ever wanted it to be. And I came back about a year ago and checked it out. And he's like, hey, man, if you ever want to come and, you know, throw down tracks or record here or do whatever, like, just hit me up. And we were coming up with the idea for this. And I called him up. I'm like, yo, dude, can we roll down to the studio and like see if we can come shoot this thing there? Because we had written and recorded our album, The Connection, there. I had recorded the demos for a side project I was going to do back in the day called Fight the Sky. I produced some demos for this band called Die Tryin' that we eventually helped get a record deal for. We recorded the collaboration between Papa Roach and the Black Eyed Peas called Anxiety at this studio. And so there was just all this history of us being in this space. Plus, it's literally right next door to the rehearsal spot that the Deftones came up in. And it was this hub in Sacramento of creativity and music and bands. And you know, everybody coming together right there. And it just seemed really fitting to celebrate those years of our band at that spot. And after we did that, we're like, oh man, I can't wait to come here and cut tracks, do vocals, you know, for some new stuff. And so it's really, really nice to be in that room and, you know, just feel the vibes. And it just felt like, hey, we're home, you know?
And if you want to check out the performance, check in the description below. I'm going to leave the link there for if you want to check out the full performance. But let's do this, man. Full Infest chat. Some of this you'll have answered a million times. Some of it, I think, is quite unique through looking at things through the prism of 2020. But first things first, we were introduced to you as Kobe Dick. Where did that come from?
Kobe Dick, Mr. Dick if you're nasty, Dr. Dick if you're sick. So we had a big white van back in the day, and it was a 15-passenger van, and my wife actually signed the paperwork for it because none of us had good credit in the band. Kelly was the only one with credit. So she graciously, against her best judgment at the time, she's like, I don't know if I should be doing this. She went and signed the paperwork for us. We had this big old white van, and we started touring in that, and the band was paying the bills, right? But my wife Kelly at the time, my wife Kelly was you know, the signer on it. So thank you, babe. I appreciate it. You know, still grateful for that. But this big old white van, and you know, people call me Kobe, you know, because it's short for Jacoby, and it just was, you know. And then our manager was like, this guy Gary Avila at the time. He's like, man, you should just change your name to Kobe Dick, dude, because we had the van, we called it Moby Dick, right? And it just seemed to fit, just rhymed, and you know, I was all about that rhyme back in the day, and it just stuck. It just stuck, and it was just that deal. Now it's funny because I got my youngest son, Brixton, you know, he loves Papa Roach. He listens to the music, you know, and he's like, Dad, why is your name Kobe Dick? That's not your name. And I'm like, well, you know, back in the day, that was like my AKA, son. And I had to like show him what an AKA is, you know. Yeah. And he's all, well, can I be Brick Dick? And I was like, I mean, I guess if you have to, you know, that would kind of be a good hotel check-in name. Yeah, yeah, it was funny stuff.
So you mentioned a van, like not enough people. I think because you just kind of it was like last resort, and here's Papa Roach. I don't think people quite realise the amount of hustling that you did, particularly in that van, where you used to drive to concert venues when shows were happening just to give out your CDs and things like that. Like there was a lot of grind pre-Infest, right?
Most definitely, man. And we took a page from the hip hop book, you know, from the East Coast hip hop book, where they'd roll out with the boombox and slang their stuff on the street. And I respected that hustler. I was a hard worker. I grew up with, you know, the value of if you put the work in, you'll see the result type of mentality. And we would roll up on Deftones concerts or Korn concerts, Limp Bizkit concerts with a boombox on our shoulders, right? And we're rolling. I'm playing the tracks out the boombox, and I'm like, "What the fuck, Papa Roach? $5. What the fuck, Papa Roach? $5. What the fuck?" You know. And I had this chant and this mantra, and people would be like, "Who the fuck's this weirdo?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's up? P. Roach, we came to slang you some shit, man. You want to buy it, dude? Y'all don't know about us, but you about to know, you know." And so I was just this. I still am. I just had that hustle, man. And it's just something that was instilled into us as a young band to like, that was our way to cut through the clutter. You know, there was plenty of other bands putting up their flyers and doing the deal, but we felt we had to take it to another level and like be in their face. And that was our social media. You know what I mean? That was social media. We were like right in your face, dude. We were slapping high fives and bear hugs and slanging CDs and like talking stories. And there'd be a couple of people that knew about our band, you know. So then we go, "Oh, what's up, man? You my people." Like we'd hand out stickers, you know. Like we were just that hustling band, and it worked out for us, man. We started to see some new fans coming to the shows, and we'd sell those little $5 CDs and spread the gospel of Papa Roach, you know.
So when you were doing that, you mentioned like, you know, at the time Papa Roach came, like we'd already seen Deftones break and Korn and Biscuit and Incubus. When you were grinding away, when you guys were putting together Infest, did you feel like you had something to contribute to what was going on to rock music at that time that was a bit different? Because Papa Roach have their own signature sound within like the sound that defined that era. Did you feel like you had something to give to this that was something new?
Oh, most definitely, man. We felt like we fit into the fabric right next to any of those bands, you know. We were doing shows. Incubus came up to Sacramento, and we weren't signed yet. We didn't have a record deal. They opened for us in our hometown, you know, and we were one of those bands that we were making waves in NorCal. We just hadn't really grabbed the attention of the industry. Another group that would come up and open for us, Snot, would come up north and play with us. Alien Ant Farm, you know, so we fit amongst these bands that already had record deals. We just hadn't like made it over that hump yet. And you know, as far as stylistically, like we always considered ourselves like, in a sense, we felt like we were like the punk version of nu metal in a sense. And lyrically, you know, it was very, very raw. It wasn't, you know, while Limp Bizkit kind of was toting this like a little bit more of a bro vibe, we were more like, we're fucking punk, you know what I mean? And it wasn't necessarily about like our style of music, but it was our attitude and our approach. And we never really fit into the hometown scene. And so we always kind of were the bastard cousin to every scene. And so we were used to not being, you know, accepted right off the bat. We had to prove ourselves. And we found that, you know, over the years, man, we've had to prove ourselves over and over and over and over. And I just think it's our path, man. It's who we are because we constantly evolve.
And when you talk about the lyrics, right? Because we've known each other for years, right? And you are like, I meet everyone in this game, but you are the thing that stands out about you, Jacoby, to me, is you're one of the most heart on sleeve people that I've ever met in my entire life. And so all of your lyrics are pretty personal, but there's something about Infest, because it's so raw and because it's so, there's no filter, there's not a lot of metaphor going on. It is bam, this is what I'm feeling, this is how it is. Do you recognize the Jacoby who wrote those words?
You know, as we were going back and rehearsing all the songs and diving back into the record in the rehearsals, it was inspiring, to be completely honest. It was like, I feel inspired by what I was saying early on in those records, because some of the stuff is just straight fucking timeless. But, you know, like a song like Broken Home, I experienced that as a kid, and I hadn't written a song about that before in my life. And I felt like I had to, I needed to like get this off my chest as a young adult. And come to find out, you know, so many other people walk through that same thing. Or, you know, Between Angels and Insects, where I had this period of, as a young adult, this sense of this search for enlightenment or some kind of wisdom and knowledge, you know, imparted upon me, you know, and realizing what my mother had taught me as a kid, like, you know, these materialistic things aren't going to fill the hole inside of you. You know, I was searching for that. You know, songs like Blood Brothers, about my family, about my crew. Like, it's not always blood that makes you family. You know what I mean? It's like the people that you keep close to you, that could be your family. And so these guys in the band, you know, Tobin, Dave, Jerry, they became my family. It was just so important to me, you know. And then songs like Legacy, where it was like I was starting to learn about, you know, the corruption and politics and just the filth and the greed and the dirty side of government and politics, and I was singing about that in Legacy. And how does that, it just fits the scene right now, you know, and it really confirms where we're at in 2020. Like, my mind was in the right place as a young man. I really feel like, you know, aside of like my issues of drinking and stuff like that, I really feel like I was starting to wake up in a sense. And yeah, man, powerful record. It's really got me inspired to, what am I going to do next? You know, because we're writing and recording as we're going through this quarantine as well. And it's like, how's this first record gonna really influence what we're doing now? Because it was pretty profound as we went in and rehearsed these tracks. So like, you know, I said to the band, this is what I said. I was like, we played Legacy and we rehearsed it like 3 times over, and then we played Thrown Away. And I was like, man, no wonder some fans like think we're lame now. Like, because listen to this shit we were writing back in the day. Like, it was just so fucking hard and just so slamming in your face. And it's like, not that we lost that part of ourselves, but it's like, as I grow as an adult, like, there's these different sides of me that come out, you know. Maybe I'm a little bit more sensitive. Maybe I'm a little bit more loving now. You know, maybe there's a little bit more like sweetness coming out of me now, but that's okay, dude. It's like, that's the journey of the music, you know. But it was just like, I had that awakening. It was hilarious. The band cracked up.
So I didn't meet crazy Jacoby. Like, like in the time that we've known each other, like you've been, yeah, I say that as you gurn at me, but like, that the album flew so high. Like, you ended up on the Infest, on your first record, you were third from the top on the main stage at the Reading Festival, where I'm from, which is like colossal on one record. So did it become over time easier to look back? And when you say that life was crazy at that point in time, is it easier to forgive yourself retrospectively for how nuts it was? Because that's a lot for a young man to be thrown straight away in one hit in no time at all.
Yeah, man, I had no training. I had no training for what was about to happen with our band. And, you know, our expectation, I guess, was that, you know, because we got shot down by all these record companies in the process of trying to get a deal. You know, our expectation was, yeah, we'll get in the van, we're going to go tour, we're going to go sell, you know, a couple 100,000 records, you know, maybe creep up to gold if that's possible. And then we'll just keep building this thing. Whereas we dropped the first single and it was a rocket ship ride to the top. And then we're like, oh, fuck. Now it's like, you know, all the hanger-oners are coming around, and all of a sudden I got a bunch of money, and all of a sudden every time I could snap my finger and then a bottle of vodka would show up, you know, and just the madness, it just began. And I, you know, we're out on tour with Slipknot and Linkin Park and Marilyn Manson and, you know, all these massive bands at the time. And it was just like, I didn't know how to handle myself, dude. So I just drank and partied and raged and just beat myself up through that tour. And, you know, I look back, we watched some videos the day before with the kids again. And they were like, there's this video, it says like, Jacoby Shaddix is crazy on YouTube. And I watched the video and I was like, oh, I was beating myself in the head with a microphone. And I was like, you know, bleeding. And my kids are looking at me like, Dad, like, are you all right, man? I'm like, well, you got to understand, son. Like, we had this record that really like delved into a lot of like darker issues, and on that stage, I would go to that place, and I would self-harm, and I would, you know, there was a violence and an anger and just a visceral raw release that would come out every night. And I lived it, and I look back on it, and it was authentic, man. It was a real moment in my life. And, you know, eventually I just realized that I can't continue to destroy myself like this, or there will be no me. Like, I realized like I was slowly killing myself. And so, you know, I had to pump the brakes, but, you know, I just had this anger and this frustration and this rage inside myself that I didn't, thank God I had the music to channel it, to be completely honest, because it was just, I don't know what I would have been doing if I didn't have the music. And so, you know, I kind of was trying to explain that to the kids, and they understood it.
And it was cathartic as listeners, man. Like, there was a generation of people that felt what you felt, and we didn't just feel it. Sorry, mate, would you?
No, I'm listening.
All right, cool. Like, so, not only that, but you reached us through, I think a lot of it was down to, as well as the music, the videos for the Infest cycle are so that, like, there's moments that are properly iconic, Jacoby, like the Between Angels and Insects where the roaches come out your mouth, the feel, like that you feel it under your skin, the Broken Home video, and of course In the Round, Last Resort. Like, these are all iconic things. Do you think the videos played a big part in the legacy of Infest?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, we kicked it off with Last Resort. We worked with this guy, Marcos Siega, and he had done a video for POD called the song was Fundamental Elements of Southtown. And it just had this like hardcore kind of punk connected with your fans vibe. And our label hooked us up with Marcos, and Marcos, he came from the East Coast music scene, and he understood I guess the story of coming up as an independent band, playing in the small clubs, because he did that. And he he came with this concept of like taking the fans where they don't want to be, which is alone and isolated, to the place that they want to be, which is at the rock show, connected with their friends, connecting with this music. And it told our story, because we spent so many years in these small clubs and these, you know, backyard parties, like forging these relationships one by one with our fans. And we got to have them all around us, surrounding us, celebrating this moment. And it really, like, it stuck like glue, that video. It was on TRL and all these, you know, video channels. We had to eventually go and like take a sledgehammer and destroy the videotape at MTV, because they were like, we gotta retire this video. We've played it too much, you know? And then we dropped Broken Home, which we did with Marco Siega again. And we actually were nominated for a Grammy for that video. And that was like, you know, we dug deep, man. We just went straight into, well, what does a broken home look like? Like, we're bringing this right to the forefront. And it was very cathartic, man. I remember breaking down multiple times, crying on set, just because the actors were, you know, there was this tension between the actors on set, and like, it was palpable, you know what I mean? And we just went there, and you can see it in the video, like, because, you know, Tobin came from a broken home. I came from a broken home. Dave Buckner came from a broken home. He suffered some incredible losses as a young man. And, you know, for us to be able to like create this art that reflected the pain, but it also was a way to like put a pin in it. Like, we're done, we're moving on from this, you know. And then, like you said, Between Angels and Insects, there's a dope one take of that video floating around. It's like a low shot, and it's just got this vibe. But, you know, just taking that and like bringing the inside to the outside, because the camera like goes into, you know, I think it's like Dave's ear and comes out his mouth, and I'm like spewing cockroaches all over the people. It was just like, it was just raw and just rad, and it was all about that energy, you know, that big energy, and people connected with it. And we just, fuck, man, every time, like, we just show up on set and they're like, it was just such a giant production, right?
Yeah.
So much different than today, man. It's like, you can go do all these amazing looking things, and it doesn't have to be so massive. It's trippy,
Yeah.
man. As the industry has changed, like the mystery, you know, the wizard behind the curtain, I'm like, look behind the curtain, I'm like, oh, we could do that.
Yeah, totally.
What was I thinking?
Jacoby, what's the most underrated song on Infest?
Oh, man. The most underrated song on Infest, I would have to say, damn, that's a tough one. What was it? Ooh. Let's see. And the most underrated song. Oh, man, you got me on this one. Let's look, dude.
I love it when I stump someone, Jacoby.
Yeah. You know, I'd say a track called Revenge on this
right.
one. It was an underrated song. I felt like that one really had potential to become a single. It just was quirky and different and odd, and it really smashed together all those like kooky elements of the band, and not from a serious perspective musically. You know, we go into this bridge that it reminds me, like, sound reminds me of visual. And when I hear this song, we go into the bridge of the song, this hip hop break, and it just feels like you entered into like a Japanese anime Godzilla vibe.
Yeah.
And I love the places that music takes me inside my head, and just sonically, and the riff, it just has that it just got vibe for days, man. That and Legacy. Oh, Legacy.
So you've re-recorded Tightrope.
Yeah.
Is that forgive me if I'm delving into it a bit, but it feels
that is the most underrated song on the record, because it was like we weren't even willing to give it a track on the album. We were like, we're gonna put it secret in the back, you know.
Yeah.
We underrated it as a band.
Yeah. So you've re-recorded it and put it out there. Like the new version is available wherever you get your streaming. Yeah. Is it as much about the message as it is about the song? Because there's some poignant moments in Tightrope that seem to, unfortunately, fit where human history is at the moment.
Yeah, man. Tightrope lyrically is just, I was on some shit. I was on some it's so poignant as what's going on in the world right now. And our madness as human beings is brought to the forefront through the internet, and it's really like amplified some of the insanity in us as people. And this song really like speaks to the heart, speaks to the spirit of man, to woman and man. And I feel, you know, this thing really straight up, this could be a single like right now. I feel it's just that on point. You know, there's a lyric, I speak of madness, my heart and soul. I cry for people who ain't got control. Let's take our sanity. Let's take compassion and be responsible for every action. And, you know, that just fits right now. It's like, we need to lead with compassion, empathy. That is like, we need it more now than ever. And especially in America, in the boiling point of the racial tension, and our African American brothers and sisters continually being abused by the system. People got to wake up, man. We got to value each other and love each other. That's it. That's the only way to peace through this, is to take a step back. And I feel like everybody needs to look in the mirror and really, really put themselves on the cooker. You know, the only way we're going to change this world is if we change ourselves individually. We got to start internally, and then we could help our brothers and sisters out, you know? So I think everybody's got a little change and we could do.
I couldn't agree.
I ain't trying to preach, but
yeah. Hey, man, the words to the song and the shoe fits. You're right to have your opinion, Jacoby. All right, let's take this home then. Last Resort. Like, Papa Roach has an Enter Sandman. It has a Van Halen jump. Like, I don't know if you'll have even witnessed this, Jacoby, but in England, right, there are two songs that, whether you are at download or you are not, when it's played on the PA, if they play Chop Suey by System of a Down, the whole crowd will sing along. And if they play Last Resort, every last syllable is sung by 60,000 people, whether you are in the building or not. The legacy of Last Resort, man. Like, I'm feeling it like you're feeling it.
Yeah.
How do you even begin to sum it up 20 years down the road?
Goosebumps, dude. Straight up, man. I got goosebumps all down my legs right now. I'm tripping. Just, I'm imagining that moment in my mind, because I've been to Download Festival and I understand like the connection and the spirit of the vibe and the festival. And it's an honor to have a song that has just impacted people for so many years. It's one of those songs that you could be in the middle of like an airport check-in, and if somebody had a boombox and dropped that song, people would be like, oh, you know, it's one of those songs. And, you know, I'm just so grateful to be able to have that. We could be the vessel to bring that to the people. And it's afforded us a career, straight up, man. It's like Last Resort gives us an opportunity to continually put out new music. You know, here we go with another one, and here's another one, because we have that classic in our pocket, and we can play it anywhere, anytime, and it captivates people, and it transcends all borders, boundaries, beliefs, ideas, genres, people, cliques. It's like, it just brings people together. And if I can look at that one moment in our career, and if that's in the years to come, like if that's the thing that cuts through the mustard and like sticks to people, I'm grateful for it, you know. And another thing about it is I've met thousands upon thousands of young people that have told me that song straight saved their life, or it saved one of their friends' lives. And like, to me, that blows me away to know like a song could really speak to somebody's heart when they're in the darkness. And that it's inspiring. It makes me want to go back to the drawing board every time we're writing a new song. And not that I'm trying to write another Last Resort, but just knowing that our music can affect people in a deep manner, in a real way, in an authentic way that brings some light into their darkness. I'm like, that's powerful right there, man. It is.
And live as well, like when you get the opportunity, wherever you go, whatever Papa Roach show, being able to pull that Ace of Spades like if you forgive the pun, out your deck, like feeling that wave, like literally feeling that wave from us when you're on the stage. It's got to be insane.
It's a good moment every time we do it. You know, it's like some bands, you go see, and it's like when they go play like their earlier hits or their earlier material, it's kind of like they just like, you can see them playing it, but they kind of check out on stage.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, it's just, I'm addicted to that energy and that connection. And when that moment happens every time, I'm just like, this is fucking dope. Like, I live for this because it's a celebration. It's like, you know, taking something so dark and so negative and so just ugly in a sense. But it's beautiful and it's powerful and it's moving. And to have the ability to do that, shit.
Two questions and then I'll let you go, man. You mentioned a side project earlier, Fire in the Sky. Was that the right word? Was that the right name?
Fight the Sky.
Fights the Sky. Okay. Was there anyone else involved in this that we would know?
So Fight the Sky was actually when we toured, we had a guitar tech named Wade Kale, and he played guitar for it. He's a great guitar player. My friend Jay Ingram, he's a drummer. He's a great drummer. And then another dude by the name of Ali. So it's a mix of folks, man, and it's just got some dope riffs. And I actually just hooked up with Jay, the original, you know, the drummer for Fight the Sky, and he was like, "You ever think about like pulling those out and like finishing them?" And I'm like, "Man, this quarantine time might be the right time to do something like that." You know, and then I'm like, as soon as I say that, then I'm like back into writing new Papa Roach songs. So I'm like, man, will I finish this? I don't know. You know, but it's like, God, I feel like I need to finish it at some point, man. It's just, I've always been so busy with Papa Roach. I've had all these awesome opportunities over the years that I've kind of like missed out on because I've just been so focused on Papa Roach. I remember Chino from the Deftones sent me a cut back in like 2003 to put a vocal on. And that's when we were like trying to refigure out who we were as a band and writing Getting Away with Murder. I was just so focused on that. I'm like, I can't fuck with this right now. I just got to focus on what I'm doing, you know? And so I don't want to always let those opportunities pass me by, man. So who knows what's going to come with that.
What was the Chino opportunity?
It was a Deftones track they had sent me that it was an instrumental. And he's like, hey, man, like, you want to come feature on this? I'm like, dude, that'd be so sick. And I honestly think I was like, to be straight, like I was really intimidated by it because Chino, one of my favorite frontmen, Deftones, one of my favorite bands of all time. And it just kind of like, I was like, oh, fuck, like this is like intimidating to me. And part of it was fear, you know, like, are they not going to like it? Or are they, you know, insecurity? And I look back at some of those moments. I'm like, man, like, I wish you were a little bit more fearless, Kobe, at that time. And it's life, though.
Yeah. Last question. Only Papa Roach can say, oh, yeah, we're off the road for the first time in all this time. We're taking it easy. And then news comes out that you've got a new record deal, that you're writing for a new record. So even when you're dormant, the train is still rolling. Are you excited about what is next for Papa Roach? And do you think you'll continue the vibe of the last record?
So I am super excited about where Papa Roach is going. It's there's something bubbling and boiling that's great. I'm feeling really inspired. As far as taking off where we left off, it's always an adventure. You know, it's kind of unraveling before us. Like we're starting to discover who we are again. It's always a discovery. And I can tell you this, we went in and cut this track called Bloodline. And we had been in quarantine for about almost a month and a half, 2 months at this time. And we had to get together and create something. We just were like, dude, I'm just itching, man. I need to make some noise with you guys. And we hooked up, and the consensus amongst the band and our producers that day was there are no fucking rules anymore. Like there never has been, but somehow like we feel like there are. But we just had that realization that there are no rules in this music. And if we make something that feels safe or I guess kind of in the norm, it's just going to be boring. We can't make a record that is 3 songs that are the singles and then 7 songs that are trying to be the singles. That's a fucking boring record. And So we want to make something that's adventurous. And we wrote this track called Bloodline that's just like, I don't know how to explain it. It sounds like a cross between like P. Roach and Devo and punk, if I could explain it. It's awesome.
Those were...
Just get ready.
I always expect punk to come out of your mouth, but Devo I did not expect. Jacoby, I'll let you get on. Thank you. Mate, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Don't forget, in the description below, you can check out the 20 years Infest celebration that was recorded this weekend. Jacoby, when you got new music, I'll chat to you again, my friend.
Oh, yeah, B, it's great to see you, man, and I like that Faith No More record in the back. Booyah!
I know who my guests are, my man. See you soon.
Peace out, bro.